and welcome to the First Issue Club Comic Book Podcast. We're your weekly show that talks about comic book news and recommends first issue. It's right there in the title. We're gonna talk first issues at some point, and get used to it.
Get you? That's threatening.
I'm sick of people coming to me, listening to the first 10 minutes of the show, and being like, "Where are the first issues?"
We'll get to it. Hold your horses.
Yeah, settle down.
We got a vamp.
First, podcast is free.
So what are you complaining about?
Stop complaining.
Why are we punching down on our fans?
Not everybody, I want to be clear.
Oh, okay.
There are First Issue Club Patriots who are true believers.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
And then there are these little naysayers who want to pick apart every little thing we do.
They take up about 80% of the viewership, by the way.
Always in my DMs, calling me out.
You mispronounced Spider-Man's name wrong. You don't know what his address is.
It is actually Sporterman, though.
Spider-Man. You got to emphasize.
The hyphen is pronounced A lot of people don't know that.
Spider-Man.
Wow. Another stellar intro to a stellar comic book show, the premier comic book show in the podcast network, Realm.
Realm?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I am Mike DeStacy.
I'm Greg.
And I am Vargas.
And let's get into the news. Why tarry any further?
Tarry no further, shall we?
You, Greg, have come with
I come bearing gifts.
a printed piece of paper. This is the most prepared I've ever seen you for anything.
Here's what happens. I get excited when we start the mics.
Mhm.
When you hit record on the recording device,
Yep.
I get amped, and normally my notes are on my phone.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I forget to pull my phone out.
Right.
And so when I'm trying to recall something that I wrote down on my phone, I don't pull it out and look like a stooge
And
while we're recording.
obviously our editing machine is broken, so it's a lot of times just 20 seconds of dead space while you're trying to find something on your phone.
Yes, because we're very dumb and also very lazy when it comes to editing and posting. But yeah, I printed off a piece of paper, so it's easier to glance down and talk about what I want to talk about.
Well, what's that dead tree got on it?
Drum roll. First up, Hellcat is coming to Marvel in her own solo series with Christopher Cantwell and Alex Lins.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I like Christopher Cantwell a lot.
I am too. That intro was a little deadpan, but I am actually super jazzed.
I am a Patsy Walker fan.
You are.
As a if you know me well in my comic book collecting habits, one of my things is key issues of Women of Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I think Marvel did a lot during like Women's Lib that's really interesting, and they introduced a lot of characters and archetypes of characters before a lot of other publishers were doing things like that.
Right.
So I've just found that a fun niche in my collection. Patsy Walker is such an interesting character because her origins are in like 40s magazines. Like I can't remember. It was like the 1940s, 1950s versions of like what a teen bop would be, essentially.
Yeah, like a Tiger Beat for the
exactly right.
for the Roaring 20s.
The name of it can't
Get your Charleston right
isn't
and
popping
get you
into
a
my
bow.
head right now. But if you can find that, her first appearance in one of those, it's like so obscure.
Yeah,
They're
it's like also 11 grand.
They're extremely expensive. I've never seen one. It's one of those things where you're like, like you could always search Action Comics #1 and Amazing Fantasy 15 and all these super rare comics and always find one on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
At least like 1 or 2 listings on eBay.
Right.
This is like almost never on eBay.
Yeah,
it's
they're
like
always
that
like
rare.
just probably shredded somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
right.
I think they came with like paper dolls you can cut out.
Exactly right.
That's the main reason that this issue is so hard to find in great condition is because
it's always incomplete.
This book was made for children to tear apart.
Right. Yeah.
Like no one was collecting these of just like, oh, first appearance of this little character named Patsy Walker.
But the
what are those crazy Germans up to?
Better watch out for that Hitler guy.
Seems like a real menace. Here's your magazine, darling.
Brought to you by Chesterfield Cigarettes.
Be sure to cut it up.
But the modern appearance that people like to collect is Patsy Walker's first appearance as Hellcat,
Correct.
where she formally becomes a superhero. There
Mm-hmm.
it's a great George Perez cover. She dons the costume
Right.
of the cat, which was the original incarnation of Tigra. So before Tigra gets like mutated into a tiger person,
Mm-hmm.
she had the same
Oh, okay.
yellow and blue outfit
Nice.
as Hellcat.
And the Netflix Daredevil show, I'm sorry, Jessica Jones show,
Yes.
Patsy Walker was in it.
Yep.
And they played off of that kind of backstory that the character was
Used to be a child star.
child star.
That was a really fun angle, and
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that.
Right. And then the end of season 3, I think Jessica Jones went to 3 seasons, right? In any case, the end of the series,
I think 2.
Patsy Walker really gets her powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has like cat-like reflexes and all that stuff.
I think she goes to. Doesn't she go to like a costume shop to try some different like disguises on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she tries on the
And she tries like the
Yes.
traditional outfit on and was like, hell no.
Yeah. They did that with I think a Jessica Jones thing too. They had her in the original like jewel outfit or
Yeah.
something.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and she was like, "What is this?" And I loved how the Netflix shows. We're pivoting real quick. I love how the
Yeah.
Netflix shows did that because they did it with like Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and they really didn't do it with the Purple Man except his purple suit or
Yeah.
whatever. But man, what a fun opportunity to put some Easter eggs in.
Yeah, and I know. So Daredevil is getting its own series on Disney Plus,
Disney Plus, all hail.
which is going to be a lot of episodes. It's
18,
like
I
it's like
heard.
a mega season.
18 episodes.
Do you guys feel like you're getting to a point wherein
Yeah.
Marvel drops on Disney Plus are less exciting because they're so common now?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because they are coming out more regularly, so I don't feel like I have to pounce on them to watch them, and I don't really care about beating the Twitter rumor mill. No, because they do these like quarterly holiday episodes now with like Halloween and Christmas and whatnot with Guardians of the Galaxy and Werewolf by Night that have been 90-minute fucking hits,
Bangers.
my
all-
friends.
Yeah.
The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special and the Werewolf by Night Halloween special were fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think they're even an hour long, though. I don't think either of those are.
No,
No.
they're like 45, 50 minutes.
Yes. They seem like they're longer because the credits are like a half an hour.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't stand that about the Disney Plus UI because every show I'm like, God, a half an hour left, and then it's like show over.
Mm-hmm. Because it's credits.
Credits in every single language like known to man.
And thanking every state they recorded in, every animal that walked on the set.
Can't they find a way to say, okay, playtime we're going to show on the little timer deal that you drag back and forth,
Right.
and then we'll do credits in like a separate thing?
How about a QR code that displays for 30 seconds at the end
and says, hey, you
and-
want to read the credits?
and
Go
links to a website where everybody gets their credit?
here. Yeah.
Listen, yeah. If they're going to have such long credits, I demand that they pay the VFX artist more.
Yeah.
That's how we get the credits shorter.
For
Because they're
sure.
not going to do that. So, folks, if we demand that, we'll get shorter credits.
And the longer I have to wait to see your name in the credits, the more you get paid. You know? Right?
Exactly.
If you're at the very end, you're 45 minutes into the credits, you're getting $1 million an hour.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And those are the guys that are like the key grips. The
Yeah.
key grips are making the big money.
Uh-huh. Assistant to the third director of photography.
That's how we flip the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Demand justice
That's right.
for the key grips.
Well, so speaking of this new Daredevil show, I saw rumors the other day that White Tiger,
Yeah.
another woman of Marvel,
Mm-hmm. And if you play her card in the middle location, a 7
Oh, God.
card will play on the opposite.
hey,
Marvel Snap.
I think if you want to get Marvel Snap out of your system here, people love that stuff.
I fucking hate it, and I can't stop playing. We'll move on.
Yeah.
But in any case, I noticed that book popping off a little bit.
Right. Mhm.
I don't think that's ever been that popular of a character, and there's a couple versions of the character that add some ambiguity to like
Mhm.
what's the first appearance, what version of the character or what
iteration
would they portray on a TV show if that even actually happens. So
Mhm.
so the waters are muddy, but I think I'll say PSA that you can get this book in most of these books in like near mint for like around $20.
Mhm.
I saw a CGC 9.8 go for like above $250.
Woo, blood in the water.
Which, like, yeah, I think people get really excited right off the bat, see the 9.8, and go a little too ham right away. So
Which is so foolish.
I know it's one of those things where truly, like, if you want to make money, sometimes it
Slab everything.
it real honestly, like, slab everything. If you get your stuff pre-screened to see if it's 9.8, and if it is, slab so much stuff that is like a minor key issue because people will pay
Stupid amounts.
so much money for something graded a 9.8 that raw would have been like $15-$20.
And on the flip side, don't buy White Tiger right now. Wait for 3 years, then buy it.
Right.
Even if
'cause-
she's in the show and a smash hit, there's no way it's going to sustain that amount of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I saw a Vengeance #1 go for $60 the other day.
And that's
First America Chavez.
Yeah.
America Chavez.
And back
still
up,
$60, nothing to
No,
snuff your
No,
nose
but
at.
there was a time that was selling for
600,
$250.
yeah.
Oh, really?
a slabbed. Yeah,
Wow.
Holy cow.
yeah, it was a $600 book.
Good thing I sent mine in to get slabbed. Booyah.
Oh, yeah, you did, didn't you?
I did. We still need an update on where those books.
Yeah, Greg and I
It's
sent
like
a
an
bunch
Indiana
of stuff
Jones
to
situation.
CBCS, and their turnaround times right now are 7 months. We sent them in June. I think we're going to get them in February last time I checked. The CGC turnaround times now are like 20 days for a modern book.
Wow.
So
What the hell?
we got to move to CGC. I think the CBCS has us by the gonads for
Signatures.
signature verification because they'll give you the yellow labels by having someone verify the signature, which to me is just a lot nicer than having a qualified grade or that green label on a CGC book. So it's the price you got to pay for a yellow label if you want it.
Or the price you don't have to pay to have somebody watch somebody sign your comic book.
Yeah, exactly right.
I would be, and if you do this, that's fine. I would just be embarrassed to go to like CGC and be like, "Can you have someone stand with me while Donny Cates
Can Dad hold my hand?
writes?" Yeah, it's like it's just like asking someone to go buy beer for you if you're underage. It's like, "Hey, can you go get me some like Keystone?"
Well, people do it all the time.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, one thing that's been nice, I think anyway, is that they're starting to put more and more people at tables of artists who are getting, or writers who are getting a lot of action,
Mm-hmm.
and not just like the Chris Claremonts of the world, but like Mirka Andolfo. The last time I went to C2E2,
Yeah.
her like handler, it seemed to me anyway, doubled as a CGC person.
Yeah. See,
And you would just give that, you would slide that, you'd give that person an extra $20, and they're just standing there anyway. So they verify the signature for you.
That's definitely the way to do it.
That's the
for all you
smartest way.
creators out there.
Right.
Yeah. Way more people would do it.
Yeah.
I think you'd have a lot of people who'd just be like, $20, sure.
If I was CGC, I would just offer that service to every creator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like, listen, like, give them
They-
like a percentage of the cut you make off of like standing there.
They might.
Yeah.
That might be a service.
We
they
haven't
offer.
verified that
Yeah.
yet, so.
If Mirka Andolfo's got that set up, then I'm sure she cut some sort of deal where she's making the right amount of money to do that.
Boys, let's volunteer. Next con, the three of us will stand at some booth and watch
CGC
whoever.
watchers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watch
we
CGC.
we
watchers.
verify CGC verifiers.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
We're like secret shoppers. Were you really watching?
Yeah.
No. Because then you get your slab slabbed, and it's approved by us. The slab is in a bigger plastic slab.
Excuse me. Did you see if Donny Cates crossed that T? Secret shopper. CGC verifier. Greg Lichtai.
I like that you flipped out your badge.
My
that
badge.
only we could see.
Yeah. It's the theater of the mind.
It is.
They knew that I had my badge out, my verifier-verifier badge.
Speaking of CGC, now we're like subject to subject to subject. We're like 8 subjects deep on a tangent now.
Mhm.
Forgive us. But speaking of CGC and verified blah, blah, blah. The other day I was on eBay and I saw someone had a Eternals #1 verified, graded, signed by Stan Lee,
Oh, shit.
which famously, like,
He didn't write.
he didn't like have any involvement in. Like, I
Mhm.
think he wrote some stuff later that they like had, or earlier that they like retconned to be in the Eternals universe, but he's really got like no take in that. Do you think for Marvel Comics,
Uh-huh.
Stan Lee just has free license to sign anything?
I think it just, well, yeah.
Obviously, I mean, he's passed and we're sad about it. He's not going to be signing things. To me, it just struck me as like, why would I want to buy that? It's just like an odd thing.
Because you're a fool, and a fool and his money are easily parted. Like, when we went to see Stan at Comic-Con, I saw people handing him Spider-Man toys to sign.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
a baseball bat. Like, just the most asinine things to have Stan Lee sign. And it's just like it's your money. Do whatever the hell you want.
I don't have a problem with the toy, by the way. If he's signing like the packaging of like a sealed toy,
This guy had him sign just like a loose Spider-Man
a loose
toy.
Spider-Man toy, rough.
And you're just like, I guess he had $100 to blow
Rough.
on just some dumb shit.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I desperately want a Stan Lee signed Batman. Like any Batman issue
No, but-
signed by Stan Lee.
That's a good question. Would they even like let you do that?
Why? Tell me why I can't.
I don't know. I'm just saying,
Unless Stan himself is like, I'm not going to sign
Well,
that.
because, like-
those people move you through so quick.
like,
They're not even gonna bat an eye at
Yeah.
that.
you just have him sign like some contract, like you're like his like attorney now. You're like,
poor
oops,
guy.
sorry, I
It-
paid $100.
It's hard to talk about this without thinking of like elder abuse stuff and how he was just like
Yeah.
stuck at a table forever with all these people around him, just like
Taking his money.
taking his money and shuffling him through like all this work in his old age. It's just really sad.
Stan, say Excelsior. What?
But on this topic, Todd McFarlane famously has like rules of stuff that he'll sign and what he won't sign.
Okay, that's
So
good.
if you bring him a Spider-Man comic
Mm-hmm.
that he didn't do the cover for or interiors for or write, he's just like, I will not sign that.
Yeah, totally.
If you bring me something that contains a character that I created, he was like, I could see potentially signing that. You bring me like anything like Venom,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll sign that for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon thing, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, if I hand Todd McFarlane a Moon Knight #1,
Mhm.
why would he sign it?
Right. I think
Stan Lee's a little different because he's like the one above all, right? I mean, he is.
I think that's how we see it now. Like
Yeah.
Stan Lee is just like
Comic
Mr.
guy.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Like he was a prominent editor, wrote all these great stories, created all these great characters.
I mean, he might have been
editor on that.
He might have been
issue,
editor on Eternals.
Well,
Or
but I'm not gonna
at
get
the time
CB
that Eternals was
Sabowski's
published.
fucking signature
Well,
on any
here's-
book.
Here's the thing: people get Jim Shooter's signature on a million things because he was editor for so long.
Jim
but
Shooter's a fucking ass.
Is he?
he is.
Really? I didn't know that.
He made people not put gay characters in comic books because
Oh.
they said they wouldn't sell.
Here's
I
Mic
didn't
drop.
know. I didn't know that.
here's the thing with Stan Lee, right? At the beginning of like, what is it? 90% of Silver Age comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't every Marvel book say Stan Lee presents whatever?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
So I mean, Stan Lee was like Mr. Marvel.
Yeah.
So like, I can see him just signing whatever Marvel book.
Yeah.
You throw at him, like to a point, and like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have him sign Miss Marvel 2018 or whatever because he's gonna be like, what?
He would though.
Yeah.
He would because he's a nice
'Cause
man.
He's a good
He
guy.
was a nice man. Moving on to nice things.
Uh-huh.
My last piece of news. Just let me find my piece of paper here. It's something insignificant, not really, much to notice.
Flipping to page 14.
Screenrant, our favorite website on the internet, the most trusted and vetted website we've ever come across with
my homepage.
with news, geek news, comic book news, everything. They recently dropped their 10 best comic book podcasts. There's a lot of great podcasts on there. Some of them are our friends. Some of them are becoming our friends. We're on it. They didn't rank them 1 through 10, thank God.
Yeah.
Because we would have been right there on the bottom. But we made the list, which is insane.
That's amazing. I'm stoked.
And it wasn't like, vote in your picks. Like, I can rig an election. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
I can rig an election where we would have made that list. But someone at Screenrant was just like, my God, First Issue Club is a podcast. Talks about comic books. Put it on the list.
Do you think they just typed in comic book podcast to
No,
Spotify?
because they would have gotten 1,000 podcasts about comic books.
Yeah.
And we're the best.
And I'm sure there's a lot of bigoted, judging on the reviews of our podcast.
For sure.
There's a lot of bigoted comic book podcast fans.
Yes.
Who don't like us because we're a little more on the liberal side.
Yeah. SJW, as they call it.
But yeah, you can't have them on your list, right?
No.
You've got to vet this.
This
stuff.
was
It
a
would be-
vetted list.
It would be way too dangerous to just like pull a cool one based on the podcast cover art.
Yeah, you mean the quartering isn't on there?
Oh, God. Is that a thing? Nope. Don't say the name again. We don't want to give them any airtime if they're bad. Yeah, so we're very happy that we were honored to be on the list with some gigantic heavy hitters in the community.
Yeah, little fella named Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith, ever heard of him? Wrote some books, made some movies. He's on the list. We are bumping elbows with him. A lot of great other podcasts. So
Yeah, Kevin, if you want to come on, we're happy to talk with you.
drop us your Cash App and we'll give you some money. It was kind of surreal when I found out, and I texted you guys almost immediately.
Yeah.
When I found out.
Yeah, that's rad.
You guys picked horrible timing to introduce me.
Or maybe the best timing of all, because we got it while you're on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great timing for me. Horrible timing for you.
No, we got it because you're on the show. We didn't make any list.
Oh.
Screenrant didn't just appear overnight.
Yeah, it's true.
It's been around for a while, and so have we.
Yeah, old listeners that are familiar with Budget King, we've been trying to get rid of this guy.
That's the.
I mean, his name was Budget King, for Christ's sakes.
He was holding us back.
He was out of control. And he would come in with these fire hot takes, unrelated to comics, always trying to get us to talk about the music industry.
And we did. He tricked us.
And we did. And it wasn't a comic book podcast, and we were worse off for it.
We make top 10 music podcast lists all the time.
Greg and I, hey, we actually like comics. Not the Budget King. He likes a deal. And that's why he was called a Budget
He likes
King.
the good deal.
Yeah.
That was my last news hit. I'm very happy that we're on it.
Same. That's great.
I can die happy.
Only other thing that I'll say, news hit wise, is that I've also been noticing quite a spike in silk books that are showing up on eBay
Mm-hmm.
and the price of said silk books. So I pulled some issues out of my collection that a month ago had been like $5-10 comics.
Did they go right into the top loader?
And they went right into the top loaders. Exactly right. So if you've got that first solo series of Silk,
Mm-hmm.
the 2015 issue, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
that one's like above $30 last time I looked. And there's a Amazon Prime show that's also like, and also MGM Plus, which I didn't even know was like a streaming network.
What?
Part of the details of this Silk show that's coming out baffle me because it has 2 streamers listed, and I don't know if one of them is just producing it or they're both going to stream this thing. But
Are we sure this is about the superhero and not the nice
Material.
material you make clothes with?
this puppy's dressed in silk,
Oh, I would watch that.
Sold.
little robes. They're having little sit downs for tea in their silk robes. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the deal with the show is. I don't know why it's. I guess it's not on Disney Plus because it's a
Sony production.
Sony property.
Yeah.
Which is why it got sent to MGM and Amazon somehow. But
I don't know.
I'm still excited for it. Silk's a character I've always loved, and I've got a ton of Silk stuff.
Yeah.
There's been like 5 first issues of Silk in the last 7 years, though.
Yeah.
So I'll just say buyer beware,
Be
because
warned.
there's a lot of first issues, and you want the 2015 one.
The latest Silk run was super good.
I think they were all good.
Yeah,
there
they're all
hasn't
awesome.
been one that I haven't liked. So check those out to get pumped
Sick. Time to pull her first appearance.
for the Silk Show.
And shred it.
Get it on eBay.
Money means nothing to me. Vargas, you got any news?
No.
All right.
I'm just happy to be here.
Let's get into the favorite part of the show then. Comic books.
First issues, or just comics in general.
Comics.
I've always been confused about this segment, if I'm going to be honest.
It's a new segment that we've shifted into.
Yeah.
We took the summer break,
And then we came
did
back
some reformatting.
and said, let's just share books that we're reading.
Right.
Is it just first issues, or is it any book?
It's any book.
Okay.
Anything comic book related.
Does it have the number 1 in it?
Eventually.
Anywhere? Well, there you
Somewhere.
go. That's what you need.
The barcode has a 1 in it.
Yeah.
Page number.
This is the case. I got to call out Leah Williams' X-Terminators.
So
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking
good.
amazing.
So good.
I love the fact that they've got this uber mature, uber modern take on some of the ex-gals that, went out to party and end up in this like crazy bloodbath situation with vampires.
Yeah.
It is,
Who among us?
there's like an explicit content warning, and I'm not sure at the beginning of each issue, and I'm not sure if it was like Marvel was like, hey, required, or if it's
A part of
the content warning is like part of the gag.
Oh.
But it is definitely way more explicit than a lot of comic books from Marvel that I've read, and it's better for it.
Yeah.
It's a really fun series.
I'm surprised that Marvel hasn't brought back
Something like Max.
the Max imprint
Uh-huh.
with
Or
Black
Epic.
or Epic with Black Label being so successful for DC and a way to kind of showcase their more adult, we'll say, stories.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense that Marvel would maybe kind of copy that. I mean,
They bring back Max like basically every time Garth Ennis comes back and wants to write a Punisher book.
yeah,
They slap the word Max on it somewhere.
whatever you want, Garth. Yep.
Well, I buy it.
Wants
so
to blow somebody's head off? Sure, sounds good to me.
sick. He can drop F-bombs. We just have to put the word Max on the cover.
Yeah, we are good to go.
Like they did that Platoon series, which was like Punisher in Vietnam.
Oh, that was a good series.
A while back. Of course, I say a while back. It was probably like 2016 or whatever. But that had the Max imprint,
Mhm.
whatever, on it. Even though Max isn't like a thing anymore.
Yeah, but it didn't fold like Vertigo folded.
Correct.
Like DC shuttered Vertigo. I
Yeah.
think Marvel just whips out Max whenever they really to need to use it.
Yeah, they dust it off.
Yeah.
And this is so the Max books aren't in Marvel Unlimited because I don't think there's like a parental guidance filter.
Aha.
So you have to buy those books in hardback or track down the floppies if you want to read them.
And they're tough to find.
They can be really tough to
Well,
find.
and that's interesting because
Vargas was just saying
Andy
about
was just talking about how DCU, their streaming service, released a ton of their adult content on the app.
Yeah, they just added Vertigo,
Mhm.
all
That's
of Vertigo,
huge.
Yeah.
and Black Label.
Yeah.
So I think it's still $100 a year for DC Unlimited, and the boys in the room didn't know this, but they have new books a month after Street Date on there. So
Which is baffling.
yeah,
Because Marvel makes you wait like almost 3 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
To drop the new shit.
Yeah.
And so to get the Vertigo library alone on digital
It's
is
wild.
huge.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest indie books published came out of Vertigo.
Yeah.
And so, just hearing that, I'm toying with the idea of maybe just getting it just
Yeah.
to go read old issues of like Scalped and Fables and, all that shit.
Preacher.
Preacher. I don't know. No, never heard of that one.
Never heard of that from me every day.
So that's crazy.
So yeah, X-Terminators by Leah Williams. The gal pal's going out, getting drunk, and ending up in a vampire arcade world, sort of a murder world
So it's
sort
like
of thing.
So it's like the Hangover
Yeah,
in comic book form.
sure. Great book.
I'm into it.
I'll move on to my next reco, my first issue that I picked.
Oh, sick.
Did you guys read Gospel on Image Comics?
Oh, okay. It's on its way to me.
Okay, it came out about a month ago, or like early November,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's really beautiful watercolor. It's said to be Hayao Miyazaki inspired, and you really
nice.
feel it. It's like 15th, 16th century fantasy kind of story. Really, I'll say that. So it stars like this wannabe adventurer gal
Mm-hmm.
and the like town storyteller, and she's always trying to get him to embellish the stories about her to like bring up her legend, right? And so she's always
nice.
pitching him ideas to like fluff up her stories.
Hey, can you punch this up a little bit?
And
Maybe that dragon had 2 heads.
and so it starts out as just like a fun, whimsical romp thing, and as you go through it, it gets more layered with like whose perspective exactly am I reading this part of the story from, and there's layers upon layers of like it starts to introduce people in like modern society that you're just like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, and it starts to introduce some mythical demon religious stuff too. So I think the name of it itself is just a fun creative play on, not only the religious aspect of Gospel, but just what's the truth with all these different storytellers and what, becomes truth and what matters is the point of the story. There's just some fun themes going on there that I think are going to be interesting as the book continues.
Yeah, I really dig that.
It's a mini. The covers are beautiful. The next issue comes out on December 14th, I want to say. So you're not too far behind.
Mhm.
You could still easily catch up by grabbing the
Is that
first
Image?
issue of Gospel on Image.
Right?
Yeah.
Nice.
So big recommend for me. The guy who did it is Will Morris, and he was on double duty. He wrote and illustrated it. So
We have been seeing that a lot lately.
a lot more people doing it.
To great success.
Yeah.
So keep it up. Dual duty creators. You're doing really well.
Sure.
First issue club approves. Some of my recommendations: Doctor Strange, Fall Sunrise by Trad and Heather Moore. There was no other creator that is more perfect for a Doctor Strange story than Trad and Heather Moore. If you don't know who these creators are, they did Silver Surfer Black. They've done
Luther Strode. He
Luther
did the
Strode, which is a fantastic coming of age bloody mess. It's like Dawson's Creek and I don't know, Bloodsport in one.
Yeah. That's a great way to describe
It's
it.
fantastic.
Was New Order the Image book?
New Order, yes.
okay.
Yeah. His style is like it's like he has figured out a way to freebase acid and peyote and draw at the same time. It's these lucid, hypnotic images set in the Marvel universe. Doctor Strange is like in another realm. Is he alive? Is he dead? We don't know, and it's fun not knowing because the cryptic messages and the like just out of this world visuals that this team is creating is really, it's not about where you're going. It's like just seeing the journey in the present sense and like taking it all in. It's like it's if you've seen any of the Doctor Strange movies, it's just to help you paint a picture. All the kaleidoscope stuff and like the mirrorverse and all the unique and strange imagery is directly reflected into this book, and it is just honestly, it's a delight to look at as much as it is to read.
So I'm assuming this is canon then.
It's set in the 616, but they the way they can get away with it is because he's like in some other dimensional rift. You think
Because Strange right now has Clea as the Sorcerer Supreme,
right?
and that's been going on for what, like 12, 13 issues now.
Yeah, way longer than I thought
Way
it was going to
longer
go.
than I thought
and
it
it's
was, yeah.
fucking good.
Yeah, it is
It's
good.
awesome.
And Doctor Strange has been dead for a long time. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, Marvel will kill a character and keep him dead for a while, and
Uh-huh.
it's like
Well,
it's
he's
refreshing to see like the void that
Dead.
leaves.
I was wondering because they did that Death of Doctor Strange series,
yes,
and they had like the Doctor Strange Simulcarum or whatever, like his past imprint of himself, like
Yeah.
come back.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if they were gonna treat this series as like Silver Surfer Black, where Donny Cates wrote that
Mhm.
and then tied that into like his his
Uh,
Hulk and his
It
Yes.
becomes
Venom
an
stuff.
interlude to
Yeah.
other series and has bigger repercussions.
I was wondering if they were gonna
It-
do that. With,
I can see that happening. It's just the way. So what's happening right now with Doctor Strange and all the books is fucking brilliant because they've breadcrumbed this story throughout like 4 different books
Yeah.
so slyly and sophisticated. You're just. I'm surprised they're pulling it off as well as they are, to be completely honest.
Well, I'm going to give a lot of credit. Nothing against Trad Moore. I'm sure he's as excellent a writer as he is an artist. But like Jed MacKay has been the Doctor Strange artist since at least Death of Doctor Strange,
right.
and Homeboy is killing it
Mm-hmm.
because he wrote that whole mini,
Mm-hmm.
The Death, and he's writing Strange,
Mhm.
and it's killer.
It's very, very good.
absolutely killer.
The Death of Doctor Strange series was kind of scary. Like
Yeah.
they made those new like weird.
The Mothers,
Yes.
yeah,
Those things were haunting.
Yeah.
And very cool creative design.
So you mentioned Heather Moore?
Yes. I'm assuming that his partner.
Yeah. And what do they do on the are they colorists?
I think colorist.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I know that Trad does inks and pencils. I don't know if
Yeah.
he does color at all.
Is this colored kind of traditionally for a comic, or is it watercolor, or
It's okay. So it's weird. It's very vibrant, flat colors.
uh-huh.
Like it's not really. There's no rounded shading. Like there doesn't really seem to
Yeah.
be much like vibrant shading or any kind of dimension. It's all
So maybe like more of like Mike and Laura Allred.
100%.
Another
Yeah.
duo.
It's almost like you're watching a blacklight poster kind of like come to life.
It's like stained glass, but
Yeah,
where
great.
there's no blacks, right?
very thin, like
Yeah.
black eye. It's such a trip. It's very good.
Yeah, it's the side of a van in comic book form.
Marvel, you can use that as your pull quote, by the way.
I'll close this conversation by saying Trad Moore's art is just so unmistakable,
yeah,
and he'll be one of those artists that people in like our comic book fandom generation are.
Yeah.
He's just gonna stick with you. Like you think about Sienkiewicz covers in the
No, he'll be-
80s, and
Yeah.
they're just like so unmistakably this one person style.
I honestly think he'll be remembered like Kirby or, the little pink
the-
thing
the
that
first-
eats.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Kirby. I was like, the first person you compare someone to can't be just Jack Kirby.
Well, no, I was gonna make a list of other great creators that we like would put on like a Mount Rushmore kind of thing. Like I believe his style is very iconic,
yeah,
and I mean he's still relatively young.
I wouldn't put him on a Mount Rushmore,
yet.
but I think he falls into a class of people like Danny right now is another person that I would say has such a unique style
Mm-hmm.
that is so unmistakably like that's a Danny cover.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
Frank Miller. You always know when you're looking at a Frank Miller cover.
Yeah, good or bad, you know it's a Frank.
Or a Rob cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those fists the size of watermelons? Is that a Frank Miller?
And I want to be clear, as like uber comic book fans, you can name any artist and say like, oh, I always know a Russell Dodderman cover, or I always know a Lionel Francis Yu cover.
Mm-hmm. This is the part of the show you just show off that you know a lot of people in comic books and their names.
No, but I've got a lot of artists that I respect, but I think like when you take a step back
Mm-hmm.
and view a spectrum of books, like say you just stapled 200 comic book covers on a wall.
Why would you ever? But yes.
there are some where people's art styles are just like,
Dynamic.
yeah, are just like so outside of the normal confines of like,
I see what you're saying.
but like, yeah, the building of a character, the stylistic
Mhm.
traits that they just stand out so much. Scotty Young is another one of those people where you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's this person's art style.
Yeah, like Tread and Heather
Immediate-
Moore know what the mold is, and they just break it. They're
Yeah.
like, we play by our own rules here.
We kind of had that conversation earlier tonight where we were looking at a Rod Reese cover
Yeah, and thought it was Phil
and
Noto.
thought it was Phil Noto.
Yeah.
Both fantastic artists
Mhm.
with recognizable styles, but they're similar.
a little more, yeah,
Yeah.
They're
a little more traditional.
traditional, exactly.
Yeah, I can't really say another artist could be compared to Trad Moore.
Exactly.
Like, you wouldn't mistake someone else's drawings for a Trad
For
Moore.
a Tradmore, yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe a reason why you would put him on, I don't know, a mountain. You know what I mean?
In South Dakota.
You know, with other iconic creators who have unmistakable, I don't know,
I'm just saying,
style.
maybe if there are 100 faces on that mountain, maybe.
Sounds like a fun mountain.
Not if there are 4.
Do you make?
Sorry.
Do you okay? Do you make the Mount Rushmore comic book memoriam
Mm-hmm.
if you're alive, or do you have to be dead to make the mountain?
No, I don't think you have to be dead to make the mountain. 10 years ago, would you have not put Stan Lee on a writer's Mount Rushmore?
First of all, there's no Writers Mount Rushmore. No one gives a shit about the Writers Mount Rushmore.
I mean,
It's like a beach sandcastle.
there is absolutely room for Jim Lee to be in the conversation on that wall, and he's alive,
Okay,
right?
right. Well, that,
Yeah.
I'm not. Okay.
I mean,
You
Wow,
sound
that-
like you're not convinced.
Yeah.
But he defined
now I feel like I'm being attacked and have to.
he he reinvented comics.
Yeah, but because beforehand the staples were on the top, and Jim Lee came in. He goes, "Guys, you got to put them on the side." I get that. Yeah, I get what you guys are saying. I was just wondering, just for my own clarification, for when I do make a Mount Rushmore
Yeah.
thing, do they need to be alive or dead? Do we get 2 mountains, one for who's alive,
Well,
one who's
just
dead?
Just
the
make sure-
revisions on that mountain when someone someone new passes is just
No, no, no,
But
no,
so
no.
you think ahead, and like you just make them removable. Like they have like a hook in their head.
Oh.
A helicopter comes up, puts
That's
them on
smart.
the other mountain.
And then when we find out that somebody's a diddler,
you
can-
blow up the mountain.
you just move them off the mountain, and just make sure that Jack Kirby's cigar has a spot on the mountain.
That's what the smoke comes out of.
Yeah, his own,
It's actually
its own spot.
His is a volcano. all
Perfect.
the creators who smoked get put on a volcano.
smoking section.
On to my next one, Fear of the Red Planet by Mark Sable and Andrea Olimpoeri and Dave Sharp. It is a Aftershock book. We have gone to Mars, folks, and
I've seen a lot of Mars comics lately.
I think it's very telling because Mars has been in the news. Like, we're trying to get there by 2050.
Yeah.
The devil Elon Musk is trying to get SpaceX there. Like, Mars has never been hotter, and I'm not talking about temperature. So I think we're gonna see a lot of like more space shit that isn't like let's explore the galaxy. Like, because this book is about we've made it to Mars. Now we're mining stuff out of Mars to sell on Earth to make like space parts to make space travel to and from Mars easier.
Yeah. You're
And-
saying more true, like more realism in science fiction.
Yeah, we're kind of
We're not so far detached that
we're taking off our rose-colored glasses with space travel now because this is a very realistic view of when we get to Mars. Well, we got to figure out a way to finance it, and with that comes crime and lawlessness and just rowdy people that want to go to Mars to get a new exciting adventure. You know, maybe on the seedier side of the spectrum of morality. And
This sounds a lot like.
Airbud.
Nope, I'm bringing the podcast to a grinding halt because I can't think of the name.
America.
Ghost
well,
Dog.
so I was gonna say there's a Sean Connery movie.
Dragonheart.
Yeah, you got it. Dragonheart. It's Highlander. No, he's like a sheriff on a space station,
Yes.
And it's basically just a Western
yes.
in space. This is what that sounds like.
And this is what that is.
Yeah.
Because we follow this young UN kind of sheriff or deputy that is basically the law of the land on Mars, and she's tasked with
It's Outland.
it's called Outland.
That's the one.
She's tasked with like kind of keeping the peace and like letting shit slide just to like not stop the wheels of progress on getting these materials from Mars back to Earth.
Yeah.
And so she's essentially like an RA in a college dorm.
Uh-huh.
Like, I know you're drinking beer, but if you just keep it in your room, I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the episode, someone is moided, and now she has to put her big cop boots on and be the mean cop and go around and actually do cop stuff.
That has me sold. That sounds so legit.
It's a great book, and Mark Sable, we've actually had him on the show. Budget King and I interviewed him when he did
that's right.
God Killers.
Yes.
And, great guy, writes a hell of a comic book. This one, no different, has piqued my interest. I honestly did love how it was rooted in realism of just like, it's, we go to Mars, it's not going to be like, oh, let's fucking make utopia. It's like, no, we're going to mine the ever-living fuck out of this planet to obtain everything we can and treat it just like Earth. And
Hell
I kind of love that angle because it's not as sunny and as hopeful as people want it to be.
Yeah.
And I'm dead inside. And my last and final book by hometown boy Jason Aaron, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World on Boom Studios.
That was my book too.
Did you like it?
It was awesome.
Let's tag team this bit.
It was awesome. The thing that I really like, well, number one, a post-apocalyptic love story is pretty unique. I can't name another media article that kind of does that, except for maybe A Boy and His Dog, but that's like a completely different.
Yeah, hopefully not a love story.
Yeah, a way that. But the other interesting thing about this is it's 3 issues, 3 different artists.
Yes.
But the artists
3 different time periods.
3 different time periods, and they're gonna. The solicitation from Boom says that the artists are going to like kind of flow into each other.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what that's going to look like, after the first issue, but I am absolutely intrigued by the idea of having a different artist basically for each issue.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
It's 3 issues. They're big boys.
Yeah.
They're thickens, so you're going to get your money's worth.
And they're only $4.99.
And that's a Boom Studios guarantee. $4.99.
I mean, at least the first issue was only $4.99.
I think they're going to stick with that payment.
They should. Yeah, because they're 30 or 45-ish pages. They're got to be 30s.
Yeah.
But that's a good price point, especially for a big name like Jason Aaron.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize offhand any of the artists that were in there.
So there was one, Alexandre Tefenkgi. I didn't know who he is, but I know who Nick Dragotta is.
Oh, that's right.
And he's awesome. And so I'm very excited. His portion of the book was very cool. I don't know who the other artists are on the other 2 books.
Yeah.
But, 3 books, small investment, huge reward with the creative teams. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
It's a classic First Issue Club win-win.
And nothing better to close out an episode with than a great WW. We'll see you on the other side.
Bye!
First Issue Club is edited and produced by Mike DeStacy and Greg Lichtite. Follow us on social media at First Issue Club and check out our Patreon for videos, audio, and more at patreon.com/firstissueclub.